Good evening here from the UK. It's a very snowy and wet Sunday evening here in Lincoln, UK. We've had a horrendous snow. I say horrendous for those of you that live in parts of the world where you're used to snow and you get it really deep, then it's not horrendous at all. But here in the UK, we tend to have an infrastructure that collapses when we get some snow, and it was about probably this deep here. Couldn't get out my back door, couldn't open it properly. Front door, if you opened it, everything collapsed in. So yeah, it's been an interesting week. And I wasn't here last Sunday because I delivered my training. On Sunday on attachment-based approach to parental alienation, and halfway through the course that I was delivering, I got really bad toothache, and it wouldn't shift. So I thought, rather than just sit here and be miserable in front of you, I thought I'll just cancel it and then come back this week better. So all good. And I wanted to tackle a really difficult subject tonight, which is, how do you explain parental alienation to a child? So without further ado, we're going to crack on with that. So do come and say hello. Let me know that you're here, and ask any questions as we go along. So this is probably one of the most impossible things for you to do, partly because we don't really... How do you explain it? How do you explain to someone who loves both of you, regardless of how the other parent has treated them? A child loves both parents. That's our basic biology. That's how we are. That's how we've evolved. Hi Sonia. This is how we've evolved. We've evolved to form attachment. Hi Shirley. Hi Suzanne. So that when we're born, we survive. If you think about it, in the animal kingdom, when a baby lion, for example, is born, if it doesn't attach to its parent, it'll be left on its own. It'll be much more vulnerable to predators, and it will die. So we're part of the animal kingdom, and we've adapted that same survival strategy, is that we attach to our primary caregivers, our parents. And initially, it was always assumed it was the mother that was the strongest attachment. Actually, as time has gone on and we've learned more about the brain and we've learned more about attachment, it's the quality of the attachment, not the gender involved. And so mums and dads can be equally well attached to their children, and children can have equal high quality attachments. So they love them. Anyway, children love both parents. They should do, and we want them to. But one parent decides that because they don't love you anymore, they don't love the ex-spouse or ex-partner anymore, then the child shouldn't love you anymore either. And that goes against everything within the child. So how can we explain that to a child? Obviously, a child covers a range of ages. So bear in mind actual age-appropriate explanations. But we're going to explore some of the main themes in this. Because what narcissists are very good at doing is obviously triangulating the child into the conflict. So they want to talk with the child. They use them as their confidant. They go to them and tell them how awful you are, all the terrible things that you've done. Or equally, if they're trying to win you back, they'll tell them how they forgive you and how they want the family back together, which of course always puts you in the position of the bad guy. Because if you're the one that's been abused, you're the one that said, look, I don't want this anymore. I want to build my life back up. I can't live in this abusive environment any longer. And the narcissist is saying, I forgive you. I want the family back together. And they're saying that to the child to pass back to you. And you don't want that. You're the bad guy. You're the one who is saying, I don't want this family anymore. And that's how the child will interpret it. And the narcissist is so good at manipulating that situation so that you always come out as a bad guy. Hi, Carissa. So I just wanted to sort of explore this further, because I'm guessing so many of you are in this position where, how do I deal with this? How do I have this conversation with them without scaring them, without getting them involved in the conflict, without asking them to take sides, but also without letting them believe that I am the bad guy. You are in a no-win situation, and this is how the narcissist has set it up for you, so that they come out as being the hero or the victim. Like we said, these are the two they're the main roles that the narcissist will always play: the hero or the victim. And so this is how they'll play it out in front of the children. They want to be the one that's trying to make it work or trying to protect them, and you're the bad guy. You're either abusive or you're the one that's refusing to put the family back together. And it's always damaging for children to be involved in conflict. So if a child comes home to you and says, well, mummy or daddy says that you're this, that and the other, how do you respond to that? You obviously, naturally, you want to defend yourself. That's human nature. But actually, do you want to have that conversation with your child? And I guess this is where you're at right now. You're thinking, how do I do that? How do I defend myself so they don't think that everything the narc says is right? But also, how do I protect my child from not getting involved in this? So I'm just going to read through your questions, and then we can look at some of those bits. So my ex did this. Eldest hated me. He'd come to see them, kiss them hello, and say, well, mum, give dad a kiss. I'd say exactly. So you put your boundaries in place, which are for safety, and that's perfectly reasonable. Even when you're married, you can say no to a kiss. You're allowed to say no. But the narcissist has set that up so beautifully so that you look like the bad guy. Your kids see you as the one who's preventing this family being put back together. They'll have forgotten how awful the family was. They just want everyone back living under the same roof. And so, yeah, they've played you into that role. This made it very hard on me and my relationship as daughter. Yeah, it does. Deliberately, they want that. They want to destroy that relationship. So they need you to be the bad guy. If you're not the bad guy, then how can they be this wonderful super parent? Because you can only be a super parent if you're fighting an enemy. If you think about superheroes, Superman would not be Superman if there weren't enemies to fight. In the same way, a narc can't be a super parent if you're not the bad guy. Because daughter sees me. Yeah, okay. So it's good now. We never see him, but I worry because eldest knows the truth. What's enough to tell her? I think this is difficult, and when they're figuring it out for themselves, that's by far the best thing for them to do. And for you just to answer questions. But remember, try not to say bad things about the parent. As hard as that is, as hard as it is not to want to really lay into them and say how awful they were, you have to remember that it is still their parent. And also, we see ourselves in our parents. So if you criticise their mum or their dad, no matter what they've done to you, they take that as personal. So they're taking on that criticism. So that's not good for the child's self-esteem, because they're made of both of you. They are 50-50 DNA from both of you. No, it's not technically, biologically, that's not quite right, but in theory, they are half you and half them. And so when you criticise them, the child sees it as criticising themselves, and they take that on. So where possible, always try and rise above that. Yeah, exactly. If you don't respond, it does sound like you're admitting that that's the truth, that it happened just the way the narcissist said it, and so you're not defending yourself. But when you do stand up and do say, well, actually, that's not what happened, you're being unfair on the child by sort of involving them in what is an adult issue. And so it is very, very difficult to have that right balance. Now, you're right, Sonia, you don't want kids having hate inside them. We don't. But this is parental alienation, regardless of which side of the fence you are on, whether you're the alienator or the alienated, you both have a duty not to cause hate within the child. The narcissist is trying to do that. The narcissist is trying to create you hating them. And so obviously part of your natural response to that is to want to create hate against them. But in doing that, you're not helping the child, because children brought up in hate will only learn to hate. And without going too fluffy, love is the most powerful thing on the planet, and we want our children to grow up knowing what love is and knowing how to love themselves and how to love other people. And so, yeah, as much as you want to go, well, actually, they did this, they did that. Do you not remember when they said that to me? Can't you remember that? That's an adult conversation, isn't it? And they shouldn't be put in that place. They shouldn't be put in that. So it's a no-win situation on this front, because how do we protect our children in this case? The problem with the criticism thing is that if, as in my case, they do terrible things to that child, I think when they do something terrible to the child, you can support the child. You don't necessarily have to say anything bad about the person. So say, for example, someone attacked me. The narcissist in my situation physically attacked me. I could describe that to someone by saying how awful they are. They're really, and I have, they're an awful person. They've done this. But when it's children, and if that was to their child, what the best thing to do is to say what they did was terrible. What they did was unacceptable. So you're not attacking the person, you're attacking the behaviour. Because children need to know what's acceptable and not acceptable behaviour, and we can do that in a way that doesn't involve attacking the person. I know the narcissist does the opposite, I'm aware of that, but we're looking at how you can manage your reality with your children, because as we've spoken about before and in many videos, the narcissist is going to parent this way. The narcissist is going to parent with hate and revenge and anger and pain and bitterness and fear. That's how the narcissist is going to parent. So you need to look at all of those things and parent in the exact opposite way. So rather than fear, parent with love. Rather than anger, parent with compassion. So that's always my advice to people, is look at how the narcissist parents and just do it in the exact opposite way. Think about the qualities that you want them to have as adults. We want them to grow up to be successful. You want them to grow up to have self-esteem. You want them to grow up to have friends. You want them to grow up to form relationships. So how would you do that? What qualities do the children need in later life, and instill those qualities in them? I've been put in a position where I had to explain to my 13-year in detail. Why did you have to explain in detail? The narcissist is going to lie. The narcissist is going to say that you did this, that, and the other. And yes, I understand that you want to defend that, and they're going to ask questions, but actually it's still damaging for them to know those details. And I'm not having a go, Andrew. I do understand. I really do. I'm just trying to have this conversation, because my priority is always protecting the children. That's where my work is from. That's my passion. And when you sit and explain to a child that, well, actually your mom or your dad, they hit me, they beat me, they swore at me, even though they're incredibly factual things, this is exactly what happened, that child, one, is going to take that on board as they're all of those things. They must be, what part, is it because of them? Did they make this happen? There'll be lots of questions for the child when they know that these things have happened. And so perhaps the best way with these sort of things is to perhaps say, those are adult issues, and I know you have questions, but I'm here to protect you, and I don't think that you're old enough to understand this, and I don't want you to. I don't want to damage the relationship you have with your mum by telling you the details. It is hard, and I haven't got the answers. I'm just thinking about the best way to protect the child in the centre of this. Hello everyone, can't contribute to the two people. And this is what I was saying earlier, Andrew, is the narcissist will deliberately manipulate the situation so that you're the bad guy. Always. Absolutely. Every single time. Your role is to not fall into that trap. And accepting that you can't defend yourself. You can't triangulate the child to get your point of view across. So you have to find a way that communicates that something happened, but you're protecting them by not giving them all the details. And as they get older, you'll explain it to them. The police were involved and they know the facts and that kind of thing. And it is hard. Like I said, it's not an easy topic, but I feel it's something that we all should be talking about. And yeah, she's gonna say that you hate her because this is what the narcissist is telling her. The narcissist is saying, your dad hates me, your dad abused me, your dad did this, your dad did that. And she's conflicted because she sees you in a certain way. She loves both of you. And so she's caught right in the middle of that. And the narcissist has no right to do that. Narcissist has no right to do that to the child. But they will. They will do that because they have to play the victim. If she didn't tell her that story, if she didn't say that you were the one responsible, you hadn't done that, like I said, she can't be super mum. She can't be this super wonderful protective mother from you, the awful, nasty, abusive father. And children are going to ask questions. And she'll get frustrated if you turn around and say, look, I'm just not prepared to discuss this with you. The facts remain the facts. When you're older, I will share those facts with you. I have police records or whatever I have, whatever evidence I have that I can support that. But right now, you're too young. Right now, I don't think that you are old enough to know this because it's between us adults. And that's really hard. Yeah, it is very hard. Narcissists are shitty parents. Excuse my language. They don't think about how the kids are gonna feel. All they're bothered about is no one realizing that they're the problem. They will do anything to protect that image of being perfect. In every way. And so in order to be perfect, you have to be the bad guy. I worry if you say nothing because so many in here speak kids growing from being nuts themselves are taking on the nuts battles with the other parents. They do, and this is the back and forth that will always come about because the narcissist, and this is why you have to protect the children and boost their self-esteem and teach them the boundaries, teach them about self-care, self-love, trusting their own instincts, because you feel, even if a child can't understand what's going on, they don't understand the psychological side of it, they will feel that which parent's loving and which parent isn't. They will feel that inside. The problem they have is they can't reconcile those feelings with what they're being told, because they feel like you're loving, you're the one that's there for them, you're supportive, you're all those wonderful things, but they're being told that you're this monster, that you're horrible and you do this and you do that and you do the other, and they can't reconcile that. But the narcissist is so belligerent, and whereas you you try and do all the good things, you try and be loving and caring and nurturing and don't say the bad things, the narcissist is hell-bent on destroying that. And this is where you get stuck in the middle, is because you don't want to become like that. You don't want to go the other angle and become just like them in saying, well, actually, it's them that's like this, they're like that. So you need to show that contrast. And the children will feel that. If you start defending, which, and I'm not saying I don't understand. I do understand why you would want to defend yourself and your concerns are at not defending yourself. But equally, if you do defend yourself and you get caught up in that, so the narcissist tells the kid, your mum or your dad did this, they come to you and say, Mum, Dad, did you do this? You go, well, actually, no, that's not what happened. This is what the truth of what happened. That child is caught in that middle. They go back. It's this back and forth, and the child is caught in the middle, and they become this tennis ball just being bounced back and back and back. So the narcissist is going to bounce that ball over. Your job is to absorb that ball. Your job is to absorb it and just be like, let your child decide on their own feelings. Let your child decide on that contrast that actually, I get the feeling that that's not what happened. They're the ones that they're the ones that control me. They're the ones that shout at me. But they're saying that that's what my mum and my dad does. But actually, mum and dad aren't like that with me. And it's, I guess what I'm trying to say is I would like to put hope in the positive parenting, that you can nurture them and love them and instill that belief in themselves and that self-confidence so that they feel the difference. It's one of those things that it's every family is going to be different. I just think if you're always defending yourself, then like I say, it just becomes this back and forth, and this child is just caught in the middle. So anyway, let me have a read of this. My middle daughter hates going to her mum's, and that's where she feels shunned. Thinking she does her awful. I find this really hard as I don't want to criticise them or condone. But you can support. You're not criticising the mum or condoning their actions. What you're doing is validating her feelings and saying, that must be awful. That's horrible that you feel that way. I'm so sad that you feel left out. I am so upset for you. So you're not saying anything about mum or dad. You're not bringing them into it. You are supporting their feelings. You're validating how they're feeling. Because sometimes that's what we need as adult victims. Sometimes what we need is someone to go, I get it. I get what you're saying, and it's awful. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted more than anything. I wanted someone to just turn around to me and go, you know what? She's mental. That's shit. That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted someone just to say that to me. And kids are the same. They just want that person to validate what they're feeling. So we've had a conversation, Andrew, about how others make us feel. And if it's negative, even if they are family, it's not good for us. People will always try, and there's always going to be negative people in the world. People who want to drag everyone else down. They're caught in that victim status. They're caught feeling crappy about the world around them. And if you spend long enough in their company, it rubs off on you. But try and rise above that. We've talked in our last one about things you can do for yourself to try and lift yourself up, make yourself feel better, boost your own self-esteem. And this is so important. It's so important that you learn to have your magic cloak, so that when someone criticizes you, it's like Teflon. Boing, gone. Boing, criticize me. This is how I feel at the moment. I feel like, you know what, say what the hell you like about me. I don't care. I'm happy. I'm happy with me. I know who I am. I'm secure in who I am. So your criticisms, boof. And that's where we want to get our kids to, isn't it? We want to get the kids to that point where actually the playground bully can say to them, oh, your hair looks awful today. What have you had done? You look like a right shed. Or whatever kids say these days. And you go, yeah, you know what, you're right. I've been really lazy this morning, couldn't be asked to do my hair, whatever. And so the bully gives nothing back, and it's the same with the narcissist. The more we give them back, the more fuel we're adding to their fire, and the more they thrive on it, the more they know they're getting to you. So every time you defend, that ball goes back, and they keeping you in the game. So I try to lovingly listen to my kids' concerns, yet respond as a matter of fact way that I could not accept other parents' behaviour. And I think that it is about just making those points of saying, this is what I've decided for me. This is how I want to be treated. And so, unfortunately, your mum or your dad couldn't respect that. And so we couldn't be together. But I still love you. We both still love you. And leave it at that. We don't need to, as hard as it is, these are the ways that we handle this. This is my opinion. And like I said, this is just my opinion. Just my opinion, because I'm totally coming at it from the how we can protect children. I've had to explain why no contact with parents and siblings. Fortunately, my kids witness that things for themselves. Kids hear me listen to, and I think this is really important. Actually, it's a really good point that one of the best things we can do for anyone who questions our decisions is just to stand by them and say, these are my boundaries. I've decided this is what I'm going to accept in my life. This is how I treat others. This is how I expect to be treated myself. If someone can't treat me that way, then I can't have a relationship with them. If they're willing to respect my boundaries, I'm more than happy to have that relationship, because you're teaching your children then how to instill those boundaries, how to protect themselves from being used by the narcissist in that way. And this is where this is what I'm always campaigning for, is how do we do that? How do we boost that in a child? How do we give them the magic cloak? How do we turn them into Teflon coated kids that don't fall apart at every criticism? Because the narcissist is going to fire criticism at them all the time. Constant. You're not good enough. This is that. To pick your shoes up. You're always making a mess. Picking fights over the stupidest of things and making them feel really low. And so we want them to be like, inside going, shut up. But they might not say it outside. But inside we want them to be like, shut up, Mom. Shut up, Dad. Because they're so strong. They're so strong in here. They believe that this is who I am. I'm proud to be me. I like me. I'm loved. I am respected. This is what we want. This is, as adults, that's what we want. So we need to instill this in our children. And yeah, boundaries, massive. This is part of the issue is, for many of us that get caught up in these relationships, is we don't have those boundaries, or we think we've got them, but actually we let them be violated quite a lot. And by being strong and actually saying, no, under no circumstances, I don't care what is going on. I don't care if I understand, if they've had a really bad day at work, I'm sorry they've had a really bad day at work, but that does not mean that they can say that to me. That does not mean that they can shout at me. That does not mean they can do this. If you stick with those boundaries, those kids are watching. Your kids are watching you going, wow, that's impressive. And they're going to follow you. Kids are sponges. They're going to want to be like you. So they're going to want to put those boundaries in place. And boundaries are what protect us out there in the real world. It's not a wall. It's not a wall to stop anyone from coming in. It's not a fencing ourselves off, never letting anyone in. What we're doing is saying, you can come in, but this is what I will and not and won't accept. And for me, that's something really important. If you haven't done a piece of work on boundaries, that's the first thing I would suggest that you do, is think about that. Think about what behaviours are deal breakers. You'll have quite a few now because you've experienced the worst kind of human nature. So you'll have some real deal breakers in that. You'll have things that I will not accept that, I will not accept that, I will not accept that. You'll have some that are a little bit more flexible. So make this list. It doesn't matter if it's 6 pages long. Just or if it's only a few. Make a list of behaviours that you will and won't accept, and do your damnedest to stick by them. No matter how gorgeous they are, no matter how much they tell you they love you, no matter how damaged they are and how much you want to make them better, stick to those boundaries, because your children are watching. Your children are watching everything you do, and they want to know, how do I protect myself? How do I deal with this? They're looking to you. How do I deal with mum or dad? You show them. So I even got a counsellor for my child so he can speak about how he feels, and he can now. Yeah, I think counselling is such a great tool for the kids that have been that have a narcissist parent. Obviously, ideally choose a counsellor who has knowledge of narcissism and personality disorders, because they might understand the dynamics underneath it. But counselling, having an avenue where you can, they're going to want to moan about you. Of course they are. You're your parent. They should. They're going to want to moan about the narcissist, and they need to have the completely neutral environment to be able to say all of those things, to get it off the chest. And it's, how amazing would that feel, knowing that they've got someone just for them that talk to, that you as a parent love them so much that you're giving them their very own person to talk to. That's going to really boost their self-esteem. So how do you propose to stop communication through the children? You can't stop it from their angle. You can't stop the narcissist from sending messages, can you? The same way you can't stop the narcissist from batting that tennis ball over, but you don't have to hit it back. You don't have to bounce that ball back. So they communicate through the child to you. You stop. I'm not dealing with it. I'm not communicating back. End of. Not talking. This is down to you. You control this. You have more power. This is really empowering for you, I hope. I hope you can start to feel that actually, I can do this. I can do this. I can put these walls in place. I have more power than I'm letting on. And I have more power than I've ever felt that I had before. You can hold that ball. When they bounce it back, grab it. Not playing. You're not feeding into it. You're not playing their game. I just want my son, 17-year-old, now to know who he is. That is important to separate how parent is. And knowing who he is, I mean, at 17, obviously your hormones are going a bit loopy anyway, and your brain's changing again. You're going back to being a 2-year-old, and there's so much going on. It's crazy. But this is the time where they're starting to look around and see their place in the world and really think about the future. What do I want to achieve? So these are the conversations to be having with them. And don't just talk about jobs. Talk about what would you like? How would you like to feel in 10 years' time? How would you know you were happy? And have those conversations. Get them to explore what happiness means to them. Get them to explore what a fulfilling and satisfied life looks to them. And then help them to move to that place. And having those conversations actually is a massive confidence booster, because they don't really get that. We used to have like career interviews, but they were literally, what do you want to do? Okay, well, you need to do these GCSEs, off you go, bye. It wasn't deep and meaningful. It wasn't in any way helpful. Not to slag off the career service, but I think that you having those conversations with your children at whatever age, whether it be 5 or 15 or 17, talking to them about life, what they want to achieve out of life, in terms of happiness, in terms of success, in terms of emotional well-being. What do they want? What does happiness look like to them? And that will give you a really good idea of what they feel about themselves, and encourage them. They can achieve anything they want to. They can be anyone they want to be, and encourage that. Thank you, top quality. It happened to me, a strange mum. I just wait for another chance to reconnect better with my daughter. Yeah, and you will. It'll happen. It's just working at it. Work on yourself. This is what we've been talking about, Carol, isn't it? It's working on yourself first. Being the parent that you want to be. And that involves working on yourself. You decide. Right. I find that I have a child that becomes worried things are not sorted, so I get dragged in. Okay, so you can deal with that. You can deal with the worried. That's what you want to deal with. Get them a worry doll. Get them a worry box. Get them to write their worries down and pop it in a box. Or talk it through with them. Say, so what is your worry? And what do you think will happen? Is anyone going to die from that? Really break down their worries for them. So rather than go in and sort it, you've got to be teaching them. And I talked about this in my video the other day, and it's a really important lesson, is that our natural instincts when there's abuse is to do everything for the kids, is to protect them, wrap them in cotton wool. But what you want as a parent is you want to give your kids the skills to deal with these things for themselves. This person is going to be their parent for the rest of their lives. They need to learn. You going in and saving them isn't teaching them the skills to do it. What you need to do is teach them that. So when they say, I'm worried about this, deal with the worry. Don't deal with the problem, deal with the worry. That's what they need from you. How do I stop you from worrying? Let's talk about this. So I'm worried I'm not going to pay the rent this month. This isn't mine, this is just an idea, but I'm worried I'm not going to pay the rent this month. Okay, so what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, if I don't pay the rent this month, then the landlord might get arsey with me. Okay, so do you think if you spoke to the landlord, do you think that would help? And problem solving, get them to look for solutions. These are skills that they're going to need as adults. Getting them to find solutions to their own problems is actually one of the most empowering things that you can do as a parent. And like I said, when there's an abuse involved, it's our natural instinct to go flying in, and deal with it and protect them, wrap them in cotton wool. But actually, that's not helping them in the long run, because they need to do this. They need to know how to deal with it. Yes, you're right. Don't lose hope. Never lose hope. They told me to be a librarian. Interesting choice. I noticed that showing them how I deal with... Yeah, absolutely. Model it. We all get stressed. We all have worries. How do we deal with them? And the kids are watching. The kids want to know from you, how do I deal with this? When something sad happens, how do I deal with my emotions? When I'm happy, how do I deal with my emotions? So don't be afraid to show your own emotions in front of your children, but show them it through. Show them the process. So, oh my God, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And show them the whole process. So from what triggered it to how you deal with it, how you then calm down and get back to normal. Equally, oh my God, this is awful. I'm so sad. Oh, I can't. Right, okay, I'm going to pull myself together, I'm going to do some deep breathing, I'm going to go for a walk. They're going to learn from that. They're going to learn this is how to deal with it, because stress and worry are going to be in their lives. End of. None of us get through life without having some sort of stress and worry. If they don't know how to deal with it as kids, they're not going to know how to deal with it as adults. So rather than see all these things as really huge problems, there's always a solution. There's always something you can do, and you can turn it into an opportunity for them to learn, rather than feel that they just can't cope, so you've got to deal with it for them. You're not going to be able to do that when they're in their 50s. They need to learn how to do this. Yeah, boys, exactly. We need to teach boys how to deal with their emotions. The narcissist hates emotions, don't they? We know that. So actually, you need to teach them how to do it. You need to be showing them, these are what emotions are. Actually, emotions are great. Emotions are the most wonderful guidance system in the world. When you're happy, you're on the right path. Keep doing whatever you're doing because you feel happy. Keep doing that. When you're sad and you're stressed, that's the way of saying this is wrong. Something's wrong. Something's not right. I need to switch. This is what we need to show kids, is that actually listen to your emotions. Listen to how you're feeling. Use it as your compass, essentially. I think I'm bad at dealing with the stress. Yeah, and it's a skill. Learning, you've learned how to deal with stress from your own parents. So it is a skill. We need, and not all of us are good at it. I have moments where I'm not great at dealing with stress, but I'm getting better. I've got a lot better. And sometimes it is just about getting your compass out and going, I don't want to be here. I don't want to live in stress land. I want to go back to happy land. So what can I do? What can I do that moves me from stress to happiness? Might be a stupid cat video on YouTube. It might be your favourite piece of music. It could be a poem. It could be a film. Whatever. It could be a bar of chocolate, a glass of wine. Whatever it is that gives you enjoyment. That's how you get from Stressville to Happy Town. This is what you got to practice, and this is what you got to show. Especially because the narcissist isn't doing this. Exactly. The narcissist doesn't deal with their emotions. The narcissist expects you to deal with their emotions. Expects the child to deal with their emotions. When the narcissist is stressed, it's everyone else's responsibility to pick up those pieces and make them feel better. And that's not fair on anyone. It's not fair on the children. Hi, Melanie, it's fine. It's not fair on children to be the thermostat. So by you showing your children how to deal with their own emotions, they're learning those skills, and now they're going to look at the narcissist and go, why can't they deal with their own? When you learn that skill that I can deal with my emotions, and they're thinking, okay, I am feeling a bit sad, but I don't want to stay sad, so I'm gonna do something to make myself feel happy. I'm gonna ring my friend. The friend always makes me laugh. I'm gonna get out of unhappy town. I'm gonna move over to happy town. I'm naming all these places, and I've forgotten what I called them. But if they're learning to do that as children, when the narcissist goes off on their rocker, they're going to look at them and think, well, why aren't you going to Happy Town? They're going to see that contrast. So, like I said, it goes back to looking at all the ways a narcissist is parenting, the anger, the rage, the fear element, the revenge, the bitterness. You are going to have to do the opposite. So you're going to be all about the love, the compassion, the caring, the nurturing, the supportive, the emotional, the warm. These are all the qualities as a parent that you have to bring to the table to really counteract and have that stark contrast. Because I think when if you felt really, really happy, like the happiest you've ever felt, the contrast when you feel sad, that's what hurts. If you've always felt sad, you don't know any different. But when you've been happy and you've seen happy, and then suddenly you're unhappy, it's that's painful. That difference between happiness and sadness. What's that great saying of, you can't appreciate the sunshine unless you've had the rain. And that's so true, is that actually if you lived in a sunny climate all year round, it wouldn't mean as much. But here in the UK, we get 4 seasons. We get snow like we've got now, we get rain when it's miserable, we get sunshine, we get beautiful spring days. And that means that we appreciate those differences. And this is what you can do for your children around their emotions, around their feelings, around their behaviours, is to show them that contrast, show them that, look, yeah, that's terrible, that's awful, but look how good it can be. Look how amazing life can be. Look how happy you can be. Look how loved you can be. Look how successful you can be. Look how nurtured, look how confident you can be. Then that contrast is going to be huge, and they're going to realise, I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want that sad. I want that. I want that happiness. That's much nicer. That makes me feel a lot better. Why don't narcissists grow out of it? You don't grow out of a personality disorder. It's a personality disorder. It's there for life. In my opinion, they get worse as they get older, because their lies will come back to haunt them. So they're going to go mad trying to cover up all the lies that are suddenly popping out. They're playing that game, bash, 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 because all the lies popped up, bash, lie, and they can't do it, so they go off there. They lose the plot, everyone sees the truth. But you don't grow out of a personality disorder. It's with you for life. And obviously the narcissist never thinks that they're in the wrong. So they just go with it. They're quite happy. So there's nothing to grow out of for them. They're quite happy. Yeah, brain damage can cause personality they can cause the behavioural traits. Personality disorders are often due to attachment trauma. And any sort of trauma has a neurological impact on the brain. It affects the development of certain areas, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which deals with empathy and processing. And so if they've had attachment trauma or brain injury or anything like that, and that it's damaged the prefrontal cortex, yes, it can cause that, but it doesn't. And there is research around how in adolescence, if you do lots of positive reinforcement, it can build the prefrontal cortex back up. It can build the thickness of it back up, but it would take a lot of work, and the narcissist doesn't have people in their lives to do that with them. Obviously, for your own children, I showed a video the other day that we now know. We used to think that children's brains are only malleable from 0 to 5. We used to think once they hit 5, they're pretty much, that's it, that's who they are. But actually, more research, more MRIs, more brain scanning has shown that up until about the age of 17, we can still make changes. So that's really positive for your children to know that there's a big window of opportunity here to make those changes. I think that's a brilliant idea, Shirley. Yeah, kids learn with you. Show them. Model how you want to change. Model how you want to learn. I had a lot of abuse at handovers. Anyone who was silent and speak to children. Yeah, and it is difficult, but I think you have to go no contact with handovers, or you have to have someone else involved in handovers. That would be always get someone else, always get a mediator involved. I successfully did the handover 6 months until last week. I was physically, yeah, and that's terrible. And fingers crossed there's a police, she gets her comeuppance for doing that. These aliens cause emotional and psychological trauma, so I need to take years for the child to the right support, maybe learnt behaviour. Yeah, obviously learnt behaviour is a factor, because we learn how to behave from our environment. We adapt to our environment in the same way animals and plants adapt to their environment. And so this is how children, they have that, they learn how to, but there's two of you to behave. Obviously, if someone's alienated completely, they're left in the hands of this awful abusive person. And this is why parental alienation is so damaging, is because the good parent, the parent who can counterbalance all of this abuse, is kicked out of the child's life. How do I deal with it when my child uses her narc, delegates me? Yeah, but he's played her into that, and kids do say that. Kids do like playing one another off. They will do that. That's part of their thing. They're going to say that. So you kind of have to just go, okay. Depending on what the behaviour is, just say, well, bully for dad. But this is my house, this is my rules. Sit down with them, depending on their age, sit down with them and come up with the rules, get them involved. Talk to them about what house rules should be in place. Get them to take those responsibilities. Solution building, like I talked about earlier. Problem solving. These are skills that they're going to need in later life. If they're threatening to go and live with dad, I know you don't want that, but you can't stop them. So it's a threat, trying to get her own way. She's learned how to manipulate, or he's learned how to manipulate. So, don't respond. Don't give them what they want, because then you've got those boundaries that we talked about. You've got to put them in place. You've got to say, no, I'm sorry. But sit down with them and talk about house rules. Say, we've had a few of these. We've had a few bits come up recently where you disagree with things that happen in the house. So I thought it'd be really good if we sat down together and came up with some ideas. What would you like? What would you like to be a house rule? And negotiate. Negotiate with them on what's acceptable, what's not. This is such a good skill development for them. Have that conversation, and then if they want to break anything, you can say, well, we are going to review the house rules like we agreed. We said we'd review them in 3 months' time. So, remember that this is something you want reviewed. And when we sit down, we'll review it in 3 months' time. And if you still want it, then we can negotiate getting it added to the list. Give them those choices. Get them involved. Give them responsibilities. These are all really good things. And you can do that at any age. You can do that at 5. You can do that at 15. So there you go. Yeah, that's great. Mel and Andrew supporting each other. I like that. That's fantastic. We have 10 minutes remaining. So if you've got any more questions, do fire them at me. It's a really difficult subject. How do you explain it? How do you protect the children? That's much better, Andrew, isn't it? At the end of handovers, the children have to be collected from the end of the drive and no adult is allowed. And that's perfect, exactly. No contact. This is why we always talk about no or low contact, is because the narcissist will always want that drama. The narcissist narcissist is always trying to pick a fight with you to get you to react. Women, particularly female narcissists, will try and pull you into a fight, so you might lash out, because then they can go, oh, you hit me, you did this, I took the victim. So just, limit that contact. Sorry, Mel, is that for Andrew? Just limit the contact that you can have with them. Limit how you actually talk. Don't allow them to involve you in the back and forth. If they send something with the kids, just absorb it. Okay. Any more questions? Not sure what the age of kids is in the UK. Well, we have something called the Gillick competency, Gillick and Fraser competencies, where we look at how competent they are to make their own decisions. In family court, it's different to criminal. It is different to criminal court because in criminal court, a child's testimony is not seen as being reliable. They're seen as very unreliable witnesses. But in family court, their wishes and views are often taken into very high consideration, which when they've been manipulated, that's not always a good thing. So it's a really interesting one, and it does depend on other things. Mel, get in touch with me about contact centre tomorrow, because I've got a lady that can help you with that. She's really good, and I don't know how much it is, but she's really good. She's very supportive, and she understands narcissism and parental alienation, and she's flexible and does it in other places. I know where you're based, and she might be able to help you, but if she can't, she'll refer you. But just contact me tomorrow, and I'll put you in touch. I'm seeing her tomorrow, so I can give you the details. I'm getting letters, so it's all going to start. They love trying to draw you in. They love it. They will lie to get you. I've honestly, in my position, I had the most ridiculous emails just to try and bait me to respond. And it's crazy, but just don't. As much as you want to, don't. And this is why sometimes, Andrew, it is better to have that third party, because then they'll see those patterns. They'll see those patterns that the other person is doing. You turn up on time, they turn up, so that they'll be able to pick that up. They'll be able to record it, and it's independent of you saying it. And I know contact centres, they used to be free, but obviously cuts. But that's something I'm working towards as well. I know it doesn't help you, Andrew, because you're in a different region, but I am working with this non-for-profit company in Lincoln on putting bits together so that we can solve this issue as well. But yeah, contact me tomorrow, Mel, and I'll pass on your details to the lady who should be able to help you with that. Any more questions? Last couple of minutes. I get a really sore throat when I talk for so long. I don't know how I do my full day training. I'm constantly taking a drink, and I forgot to get my drink tonight, so I've got a very dry throat. How's the teeth? Yeah, it's fine. My face. This is what I said right at the beginning. I don't think you were wrong, but I delivered my training, delivered my attachment-based approach to parental alienation last Sunday. And about halfway through the course, I got really bad toothache, and it just, you've had toothache, it's just really debilitating. It hurts everywhere. And so I thought, I can't do it. I won't be able to focus. I'll be rubbish. So I thought, I just need to take as many painkillers as I can take, knock myself out. Anyway, pain went. That was fine. Face swelled up. Massive, hamster face at the beginning of the week. So I look great. So if you notice, my video that I normally do on Tuesday wasn't of my face. I couldn't have my face on it because I had a massive cheek. I think I'm just so run down with everything that's going on in my life. My immune system is rock bottom. And so I just got hit. I got hit for 6. But yeah, it's much better. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I am back on track, and I do not have a hamster face. Thank goodness. So yeah, I will call it a day there. You're all saying good night, so I might as well join you. You're very welcome. I'm sorry I wasn't able to do last week. Fingers crossed, it'll be every week from here on in. For those of you who are interested, my dad is much better. Hopefully getting to a ward this week, and hopefully coming back to Lincoln, because at the moment he is an hour and a half away. So we've not seen, with the snow, it's been horrible. But fingers crossed, next week everything will start falling into place, and I've got lots of other things going. And yeah, I think that's the standard price. All right then. Well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and obviously you know where I am if you need me. Inquiries at thenurturingcoach.co.uk for emails, social media, Nurturing Coach. You can find me on everything. But take care of yourself, take care of your children, and I hope you found it helpful, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week. If you've got any topic ideas, do let me know. I'm happy to cover anything that people would like to discuss. So just either, like I say, you contact me on social media or email me your ideas, and we'll get them covered. So speak to you soon. Take care, everyone. Good evening. Bye-bye.